should be able to hear me now. Hey, Kat. Hey, everybody. Aaron. Sorry about the wait. Installed a new plugin and it changed everything. Okay. Hey, everybody. Hey. Let me see here. Okay. I guess I'll just get right into this. I thought I was going to have chat on my screen this time, but I guess that'll have to be next time. Da, 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 da. Okay. All right. So, I guess I'll just get right. Do I sound okay, by the way? Or do I have any sound at all? Okay, cool. Okay, so this is the Stop Cop City RICO. I actually should probably preface this. Let me see if I can find a little link about it. Here we go. Let's share a screen with you. What? Okay, so this is what we're going to be talking about today. This news story, there was a 61 defendant RICO case brought by the Georgia State Attorney General. It's been pending for, I guess, 20 months now since the indictment. Likely the largest criminal racketeering case ever filed in the United States. And it relates to the construction of a training center for I think it's Atlanta Police Department. But I mean, hence the name Cop City. It's a place for cops in the city. But as you'll see, it's kind of a flawed indictment. Even if you believe that the case is legitimate, it's still a pretty flawed indictment. So it starts off bad and then it gets strange. But I guess I should show rather than tell, since I have a video. That's kind of the whole premise. Hey, everybody. So the first thing, I kind of referenced this in my tweet about the stream, is you'll see that this is a grand jury indictment. These are all the defendants here. Yeah, that's right. I was proud of that title. So you see there's a true bill here. I should change the highlight from a different white to a different color. And you have the foreman signatures here, but you don't actually have a list of grand jurors anywhere. And grand jurors are an important part of the grand jury. They're one of the most important parts, I think. Probably a controversial opinion, but you know. Let me move this over a little bit. Hmm. Whoa, I look so big. Look at me. No. What in the world is going on? I'm switching to my other. I can't deal with this right now. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm like more annoyed than nervous, to be honest with you. Uh, I'm just trying to get my camera to work. I know. Maybe I'll do it this way. Mm, sorry about this wait. I'm not very good at this OBS stuff yet. Okay. We're just gonna have to do it this way. Okay. That'll have to do. That'll be fine. I hope you've all enjoyed watching me learn how to use OBS for the first time. Okay. Do I dare try to touch this again? No, it's just going to stay this way. Okay. So, as I was saying, we have the grand jurors up here. Well, we don't have any grand jurors. So, there are no grand jurors listed in the indictment, which is one of the things that you really need to have in a grand jury indictment is the grand jurors. Um, thanks, Vanessa. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the support. I really do. But yeah, there are no grand jurors in the grand jury indictment. So that's a bad start. Let me see here. The other thing that I like, I highlighted this before. You probably saw that at the start. But they have Brooke. I'm sorry, I need to change it to green for obvious reasons. Brooke Elaine Courtmunch, aka Brooke Elaine Courtmunch. And that's, I think, the only of two AAs that they use. No, there's one other one. It's Leonard. Here it is. So this is actually an AKA because there's two names: Leonardo versus Leonard. But as far as I can tell, this is literally just the same name twice. I'm pretty sure I'm right. But anyway, that's not a big deal. Okay. I've looked through this quickly once, so I'm gonna see if I remember everything. Um, let's see. I guess I can read this. This is just the RICO conspiracy statute. Let's see. The aforementioned are charged with violating the Georgia Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, OCGA 16144C. If you're familiar with the YSL case, you probably have heard this a million times, but for the said accused individually and as persons concerned in the commission of a crime, that together with unindicted co-conspirators in the state of Georgia and county of Fulton on or between May 25th, 2020 and August 25th, 2023, while associated with an enterprise. I should probably see like the enterprise, but anyway, an enterprise did unlawfully conspire and endeavor to conduct and participate in, directly and indirectly, such enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity in violation of 16144B. So this is where it starts to get more weird than anything. Um, their enterprise description is bizarre, but let's get into it. I'm just checking chat here. Oh, hey, Trukisha. Hey, what is this crown feature? I don't know. Okay. The purpose of defend the Atlanta forest is to occupy of parts or all of 381 forested acres in DeKalb County. I don't know how to say this county's name. Is it like DeKalb? 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 I don't know. So is to of occupy of parts or all of 381 forested acres in DeKalb County that is owned by Atlanta Police Foundation and leased by the city of Atlanta for the purpose of preventing the construction of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center. DeKalb? Okay. Both ways. Thanks, Shakisha. Yeah, I know the trial's supposed to start on the 7th, I think. Um, oh, hey, Keisha. Good to see you again. But yeah, the issue here is I don't think the purpose that they're leasing it is to prevent the construction of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center. Like the that's not what I meant either. Like, whoa, that's really big. There we go. So they use like purpose twice here. It really doesn't make sense. Yeah, that's right. Ayla King. I was trying to remember the name. I talked to one of the attorneys on this case yesterday. She's not Ayla's, I mean, Suri's Ayla's lawyer, but she feels very strongly about her client's innocence because, you know, of video evidence. But I know they're excited to get things going. Let me see. Each individual charged in this indictment, knowing joined the conspiracy in an attempt to prevent the training center from being built. That conspiracy, I don't know what conspiracy that is. That conspiracy contained a common purpose to commit two or more acts of racketeering activity in Fulton County, Georgia, elsewhere in the state of Georgia and in other states. So really, they've said the purpose like 4 times here. So this is really like a purpose here in an attempt to. And then there's a common purpose here. So they've really said the purpose like 4 times already. But it gets worse. Yeah, Vanessa, that's right. It's not monetized yet. That's okay though. Oh yeah, I do. I should. That's right. YP. I can put that in the description or something. Actually, no. I don't want to interrupt for that. Oh, it gets much worse. So it gets weird too. Defend the Atlanta Forest. Defend the Atlanta Forest is a self-identified coalition and enterprise of militant anarchists, eco-activists, and community organizers. Based in Atlanta, this anarchist, anti-police, and environmental activism organization coordinates, advertises, and conducts direct action designed to prevent the construction of the training center and Shadowbox Studios, previously known as Blackhall Studios, and promote anarchist ideas. I should make. I'm making Trakisha a moderator because I didn't even think of that. Who else? Actual, I guess. There you go. I'll make Cat a moderator too. Oh, Cat's already a moderator. If you guys can find it from last time, you can put it in there, but no pressure. So we have anarchy here, here, here. I think they want you to understand that they're anarchists. This self-proclaimed direct action, but they already proclaimed it themselves right here. So it's not really self-proclaimed. Hey, Just Shamrock. Yeah, she was trending. This self-proclaimed direct action has included vandalized. This self-proclaimed direct action has included vandalizing of private property, arson, destruction of government property, attacks on utility workers, attacks on law enforcement, attacks on private citizens, and gun violence. The purpose of these actions, they're saying the purpose again, is to prevent the construction of the Atlanta Police Public Safety Training Center and a movie studio, all while promoting virulent anarchist ideals. Oh, thanks, Factual. Again, no pressure to donate or anything like that, but I appreciate it. So the purpose here. Ah. Let me see. The purpose here. Purpose here. That's the purpose. That's the purpose. This is a purpose. And then the purpose again here. So we get it. Thanks, Trakisha. Anarchy background of Defend the Atlanta Forest. Anarchy is philosophy that is opposed to forms of authority or hierarchy. Beginnings of anarchist ideals date back centuries, though usage of the term anarchy did not exist until the 1800s, which is actually also centuries ago. Over time, various philosophical forms of anarchy have emerged. Numerous anarchist philosophies exist. That makes sense. Though anarchists are not required to subscribe to one particular belief of anarchy. Okay, just to take a step back here, I have no idea why they're talking about anarchy so much. Just Shamrock says, so purposeful. That's true. It is. I don't know where they're going with this. Um, I haven't even read this entire thing because it's insane. But exactly, why people comes because what does 1800s have to do with today? I don't think they really explain, to be honest with you, based on what I've read. But it's just get to the meat and potatoes. Like, stop trying to be so like big picturey and just say what you want to say. Yeah, I think anarchy's been around longer than any other form of government. Um, but okay, so over time, various forms have emerged, not required to believe any one form. Rather, the notion of anarchy, being grounded in an anti-authority mindset, primarily targets government because it views government as unnecessarily oppressive. Okay, so this is also weird. The notion of anarchy primarily targets government. A notion doesn't target anything. It's just a notion. It's kind of using this tone of anti-government, but doesn't actually identify the actor. But in any case, instead of relying on a modicum of government structure, anarchy relies on human association instead of government. Instead of relying on a modicum of government structure, anarchy relies on human association to fulfill all human needs. Some of the major ideas that anarchists promote include collectivism, mutualism, mutual aid, and social solidarity. And these same ideas are frequently seen, hey Grace, frequently seen in the Defend the Atlanta Forest movement. YP says, I don't know how to say, is it YP Comchick? Comchick? But I meant to ask you that before. But YP says, huh? Correct. You're right. Huh is a correct analysis. Some of the major ideas, yeah, I read that already. Collectivism is the idea that individual needs are subordinate to the good of the whole society. That is, decisions are made based upon what is best for the group and not necessarily what is best for individuals. Oh, goodness. I just realized I never tweeted that I was going live. So I'm going to take 5 seconds and do that. I know that doesn't, you guys are here. So you, you're not getting any benefit out of me doing that, but let me just do that real quick. Okie dokie. Oh, good. Oh, thanks, Factually. The first few times I went live, I didn't remember to tweet them out, so Cat had to. Oh, that's no problem, Keisha. So Cat had to like do it for me, or she did it for me. Um, Keisha, Vanessa, good to see you both. Anyway, I'm going to restart here. Collectivism, the idea that individual needs are subordinate to the good of the whole. That is, decisions are made based upon what is best for the group and not necessarily for individuals. In embracing collectivism, individuals are expected to sacrifice personal income, personal liberty, or personal property if it benefits society as a whole. The decision of whether an individual should sacrifice their own individual needs is not made by the individual. Just said that. These, how do I do it that way? This and this are the same sentence. Rather, in a true collectivist society, the society as a whole decides whether the individual must forfeit their own needs or property if it is deemed to benefit the society. Isn't this just the same sentence again? Yeah, they're just saying the same thing a third time. Nevertheless, in an individual collectivist society, in an ideal nevertheless, in an ideal collectivist society, Grace, I don't I don't really mind people I don't mind typos if you're not trying to put people in prison. If it's like, oh hey Nick, if if it's if you make a typo on Twitter, I'm not gonna like judge you for it. But if you're trying to put somebody in prison and you make a typo, I'm gonna judge you a little bit. It's a whole different deal. Nevertheless, in an ideal collectivist society, good grace. Yeah, Trin's right. Trin says it reads like a group project that got slapped together with no one proofreading it. I agree. That's actually probably very accurate. Nevertheless, in ideal collectivist society, individuals already make the decision to donate to the collective without prompting from others. This just contradicts the entirety of what came before it. Individuals already make the decision. And then here it says decisions are made based upon what is best for the group, not necessarily for individuals. The decision is not made by the individual. And it says the society as a whole decides. And then it says individuals already make the. Okay, that's fine. Social solidarity. Did I do this one? Here we go. Mutual aid is a term popularized by anarchists to describe individuals who. Okay. This is a defined term. We talked about this yesterday on Cat's stream a little bit. When you see something capitalized, that means it's like a specific thing or a specific instance of a thing. It's like a title of something. But you'll notice they stopped doing that almost immediately. Mutual aid is a term popularized by anarchists to describe individuals who exchange goods and services to assist other individuals in society without government intervention. I gotta be honest, that sounds like capitalism. Like, it's not quite, but it's probably closer to capitalism. That's true, Trenton. This is like laissez-faire capitalism, not mutual aid. But in any case, closely related to collectivism, mutual aid is not a new term. See, here they didn't, it's not a defined term anymore. Nor is it limited to anarchy. However, the major factors in anarchist mutual aid is the absence of government and the absence of hierarchy. Isn't this two factors? Anyway, instead, an anarchist belief relies on the notion that once government is abolished, individuals will rely on mutual aid to exist. Okay. Remember back up here? They said there are various forms. Anarchists are not required to subscribe to one particular belief. And now they're saying an anarchist belief relies on something, like there's a single one. So that's great. In doing so, anarchists believe that individuals will work together and voluntarily contribute their own resources to ensure that each individual has its own needs met. Social solidarity. Yeah, Nick mentioned Nash equilibrium. It's John Nash, the economist, and I guess economist at I think Princeton. Um, yeah. Social solidarity is another term that's embraced by anarchists. I think it's just this really. Social solidarity is embraced by anarchists, and ideas tied closely to mutual aid and collectivism. Social solidarity is the idea that individuals can live together without government and provide for each other. The notion of social solidarity relies heavily on the idea of human altruism. That is, individuals will voluntarily offer goods, services, and resources without anything compelling it. Anarchists often shorten the term social solidarity simply into the term solidarity. Jason asks, isn't this the 64-person RICO in Fulton County? It is in Fulton County, but it's not brought by the Fulton County DA's office. I should have mentioned that. That's a good question. It's brought by the state attorney general's office. So this isn't the usual cast of characters. You see. So yeah, anarchists often shorten social solidarity, and solidarity is frequently woven into these speeches, statements, and writings of anarchists. In addition to the term solidarity and other anarchist terms, anarchists often weave the term mutual aid and collective into their jargon and writings. That's not what jargon means. I'm just laughing. Nick's comment says, "Who knew it took a schizophrenic to explain society?" This is kind of like John Nash in the Bad Days. Oh my goodness. Violence is part of the anarchism in some anarchist beliefs. I mean, violence is a part of. I'm not going to finish that thought. You can be violent under any system of government, except for, I guess, pacifism. That's not really a system of government. Violence is part of the anarchism is some anarchist beliefs. Viewing their own violent acts as political violence, violent anarchists attempt to frame the government as violent oppressionists, thereby justifying the anarchists' own violence. How many times have they used the word violent there? You can't use one word in a sentence 6 times. It's against the rules. Indeed, the belief is that the government is engaging in a form of violence by denying individuals basic needs through capitalism, government action, and law enforcement by police. Anarchists often point to law enforcement as one of the chief violent actors, and they accuse the government of using law enforcement to oppress societal change, and they view the structure of government as inherently oppressive and violent. That's a lot to unpack. As a result, violent anarchists often engage in violent activity towards law enforcement. And this is my favorite sentence. I forgot about this. Okay, if you don't listen to anything else, this is the part you want to pay attention to. As a result, violent anarchists often engage in violent activity towards law enforcement. And it is justified because of the anarchist belief that the ends justify the anarchist means. It is justified. Let me read that one more time. As well, violent anarchists often engage in violent activity towards law enforcement. And it is justified because of the anarchist belief that the ends justify the anarchist means. I'm assuming that's not what they meant to say. I'm gonna make Nick a moderator too. I should have done that sooner. Um, yeah, I don't think that's what they meant. I think they meant to say, the justification used or something like that. I really gotta add chat to my stream. Trent says it's nice of the prosecutors to approve of political violence. It is. It is. It's very generous to the defense. A local anarchist. Trent says motion to dismiss. There have been many. There have been both general and special demurrers. Um, Yeah, there's one. I might show some next time if I do another stream on this. There's some really good lawyers on this case. I can't remember who it was before that mentioned that. Who was it? Somebody mentioned that Suri Chata Jimenez is on this case. So I'm gonna give credit to whoever it was. Ayla King. She's being tried individually. This is Aaron who said this. Is being tried individually and will start trial on Monday. Yeah, so local anarchists supporting the Stop Cop City movement. And now we're just back to the Stop Cop City movement, just out of nowhere. We haven't talked about it in. Have we actually. Have they even used the phrase at any point? Is that the first time they used that phrase? They didn't even use the phrase before. Okay. I guess they're just assuming that you know what Stop Cop City is. Oh, that's right, Aaron. You mentioned that yesterday. Um, I didn't know Josh Schiffer was on this case. Bruce Harvey, John Samuel. I know Suzanne Tevis, Brian Tevis. Oh, you said Brian on there. The movement's militant direct action, land occupation, and sabotage of construction machinery have not only kept the struggle alive, but shifted the Overton window when it comes to how even nonprofits are willing to engage the struggle. Okay, before I read the rest of this, we don't know who said this. It just says a local anarchist supporting the movement. We don't know if they're even a defendant. This could just be like an edgy 13-year-old who just discovered, what politics are and wanted to write something out. I mean, we have no idea who this is. When asked about the sabotage of construction and police machinery, the referendum campaign, notably headed by nonprofits and electoral organizers, has continuously reiterated its support for a diversity of tactics in a yeah, I know, Nick. In a stark departure. Is a stark departure? Oh, in a stark departure from many nonprofits' more risk-averse approach to political action through a combination of tactics. The Stop Cop City has built a united front against Cop City that is willing to fight by any means necessary. Just as with tactics that directly engage the system, much of the militant direct action has also heightened contradictions and exposed hypocrisies. Thus, thrusting fundamental questions into public consciousness. Are we more concerned about the violence of destroying construction machinery and police property, or about the violence of capitalist exploitation, environmental devastation, and police murder? What do we do when it's liberal Democrats rather than Republicans who are leading the efforts to destroy an urban forest, suppress the right to vote, and expand the police state? Do we truly believe that Cop City is a matter of life and death? And if we do, what are we willing to do to stop it? Jason asks, I heard Rachel Kaufman too. Maybe Kayla has a client too. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I keep learning new attorneys around this case. So yeah, I don't know what any of that was. I don't know what the purpose of it was. I don't know who said it. I don't know the context. I don't know how it ties to this. They'd never explained what Cop City is or Stop Cop City. But okay, as noted above, the militant anarchists engage in violence to bring attention to their own political goals and their perceived government violence. I don't think that's right. Maybe just government violence. That's what they meant to say. But political violence is not simply a philosophy. I would argue it's not a philosophy at all. Defend the Atlanta Forest has put the philosophy into action. So it's okay. Indeed, in one example, a known Defend the Atlanta Forest arsonist was recorded complaining that there were not enough violent members in protests against the training center. So this sounds like he's complaining about the absence of violence. But you know what? That's fine. The spread of anarchist ideas is conducted through word of mouth, internet, and written form. What does any of this have to do with anything? Seriously. I don't know who we're talking about. I don't know what the overt acts are. We still don't really know what the conspiracy is. What is any of this? Okay. The spread of anarchist ideas is conducted through word of mouth, internet, and written form. As with any political ideology, the promotion of anarchist ideas exists and is spread on the internet. You just said that. Additionally, as noted later in this indictment, note it now. Defend the Atlanta Forest anarchists target and recruit individuals with a certain personal profile. Once these individuals have been recruited, members of Defend the Atlanta Forest also promote anarchist ideas through written documents and word of mouth. Didn't you just. Okay, no, we're doing like a match here. We're doing a color coding match because I need to know. It's one pair. Do orange. Oh no, green. Internet. I know I saw internet below. Oh, here it is. Just in the very next sentence. Yeah, written form is here. We'll do that in teal. Oh my goodness. Okay. Did I miss any? I don't think so. A leading anarchist member, a leader of the anarchist movement, wrote that they recruit and radicalize liberals by providing subversive narrative without encouraging state solutions. Who are we talking about? Other written documents known, I can never say this word, colloquially as zines. Did they say written documents a third time? They did. Promote anarchist ideas. Anarchist documents located within the Defend the Atlanta Forest group decry capitalism in any form, condemn government, and cast all law enforcement as violent murderers. Nick, you've already put more thought into this than they have. Yeah, thanks, Aaron. It's just a mess. I mean, Nick's right. Nick said, "Wait, what? A radical liberal is also an oxymoron." And he pointed out other oxymorons. There are so many. It just doesn't make sense. But even if it did, it still wouldn't make sense because what are we trying to accomplish with this stuff? We don't know. They still are. They haven't really defined what defend the Atlanta Forest is. They mentioned Stop Cop City, but haven't really. They never defined it or explained what that was or how it relates to any of this stuff. It's like they're writing. They're assuming that everybody already knows what's going on. Wow, what a mouthful. uh, these anarchist zines have been located throughout the forested areas occupied by the so-called forest defenders, in addition to other locations where anarchists are known to be. I knew you were going for a factual lie. In addition to handing out documents, oh no, they're handing out documents. How dare they? Let's just start with the most clear-cut First Amendment protected activity that we can think of, and then we'll go from there. Oh my goodness. In addition to handing out documents, individuals who join Defend the Atlanta Forest are offered financial, personal, and emotional support to remain loyal to the movement. Wait a minute. In addition to handing out documents, who's handing out the documents? In addition to handing out documents, individuals who join Defend the Atlanta Forest are offered. I think they're trying to say, in addition to handing out documents, Defend the Atlanta Forest offers financial, personal, and emotional support to individuals to encourage them to remain loyal. I shouldn't fix this for them, but that's what they're trying to say. Indeed, the forest defenders are provided with monetary. You did not just repeat. Indeed, the forest defenders are provided with monetary, emotional, and personal support during their occupation of the forest, during their incarceration, and after their incarceration. You, Aaron says, just to note, Georgia State Patrol did murder a forest defender, Manuel Tortuguita Turan. Shot over a dozen times, and the autopsy indicates he was sitting cross-legged with his hands up. We're going to do another matching game. Maybe I should make that a different color. Actually, no, we're going to keep money green. Personal teal. Emotional will be pink for heart. So they just changed the order. It's the same sentence, though. Am I missing something? Ooh, should I thumbs up my own stream? I just liked my stream. So this is just the same thing twice in a row. Except they changed the order slightly. Or did they just switch these two, I guess? Anyway. The discussions of support often refer to. No, discussions don't refer to stuff. That's. The discussions of support often refer to providing mutual aid and solidarity. What discussions? What discussions? What do you mean the discussions? I would like to have a discussion with whoever. You're not supposed to curse on stream. I would like to have a discussion with whoever wrote this and find out what is going on with them. Did they need some personal support, some emotional support? I don't know. Maybe they do. Okay. The discussions of support often refer to providing mutual aid and solidarity. In addition to providing. I'm going to lose it. I didn't know they did it another time. No! In addition to providing monetary and emotional support, there is preparation for arrest. Raven Liberty. Don't mention that name on my stream. Oh my goodness. Most forest defenders are aware that they are preparing to break the law. And this is demonstrated by premeditation of attacks. What laws? What laws? Are these forest defenders the one who are being charged here, or like somebody else? How are they premeditated? Do they actually break the law, or do they just prepare to break the law? Jason Hodges says, I would fire Raven Liberty, not gonna lie. I would disbar Raven Liberty. I've tried to, and I think I did do a video. about how terrible she is, or in fairness to her, how terrible she's been lately. She was cutting and pasting entire portions of motions um, from the 1980s, I think, or no, 1990s. But she was citing to a bunch of law that no longer exists, a bunch of statutes that no longer exist, in her bond motion. No, in the motion for new hearing, for a rehearing on the bond. It's really bad, and she's been doing it for a while in a death penalty case. I'm talking about the Y&W Melly case, if people are familiar with that. But Raven Liberty is the lead attorney. Although I hear Drew Findling is joining the case. I haven't confirmed that, but I've seen that online somewhere. Let's see. Most forest defenders are aware that they are preparing to break the law. This is demonstrated by premeditation of attacks. I don't know what that means, really. I could do a stream on the Raven Liberty stuff again. I think I did one before, but it wasn't very good. I wouldn't mind redoing it. If people are interested, I'd be happy to. I can do it tomorrow, maybe. Preparation efforts include efforts to avoid detection, plans to disguise their identity, and preparation in case of arrest. Okay, this is special. Preparation efforts. Wait, no, this is wrong. This should just be include, right? Preparation efforts, including efforts to avoid detection, plans to disguise their identity, in preparation in case of arrest. Yeah, this is the wrong word. This should be include. Oh, thanks, Factual Lie. So they're using preparation in case of arrest as an example of them trying to prepare to be arrested. That's a little circular. But in any event. Preparation includes, but is not limited to. Isn't this the same thing? You would just. Preparation includes, but is not limited to, disguising their face, bringing changes of clothing to blend in after the crime is committed, hiding in crowds is not preparation. That's after the. That's after you do. You don't have to hide in a crowd before you commit a crime. You can, but it's not really going to help you get away with anything. Using technology avoidance devices such as Faraday bags and burner phones. I love a burner phone. And memorizing or writing the Atlanta Solidarity Fund's phone number on their body in case of arrest. Is this Memento? Is that what we're doing here? I'm not going to repeat what Steph said, but I understand. I understand the question. Shortly afterward, after what? After what? Shortly after what? What are we after? The 1800s again? Shortly afterward, in an effort to delegitimize the facts as relayed by law enforcement, relayed to whom? Well, what facts to whom and after what? Shortly afterward, in an effort to delegitimize the facts as relayed by law enforcement and to keep the loyalty of the forest defendants. Wait, didn't they mean to say forest defenders? They meant to say forest defenders. They said forest defendants, didn't they? That's funny. Whoop. Okay, so that's terrible. Shortly afterward, in an effort to delegitimize the facts as relayed by law enforcement and to keep the loyalty of the forest defendants, members of Defend the Atlanta Forest often contact news media and flood social media with claims that their unlawful actions are protected by the First Amendment. What actions? Like, are we talking about a specific incident here? Okay. After arrest, emotional and so which ones? Emotional is pink for heart, and then personal is teal. You got to be kidding me. After arrest, emotional and personal support is offered through letter writing campaigns and encouragements of solidarity. This is an example of what I call passive voice. I used to have a different term for it, but passive voice shenanigans. Who is writing the letters? After arrest, emotional and personal support is offered through letter writing campaigns and encouragements. Me too, Keisha. Oh man. So I don't know what this. In doing so, what is this? Offers emotional support and maintains the loyalty of the accused with the Defend the Atlanta Forest movement. On the other hand, an accused that demonstrates potential disloyalty to defend the Atlanta Forest risk losing all financial, personal, and emotional support that is offered. This is very feelingsy for an indictment. Also, this should be risks. Nope. That is a mess. Steph, I the reason I had to do this live is because I tried to make a video of this and I just kept getting sidetracked. I think I made like a 45-minute video and I didn't even get this far. But if I'm live, I have to like keep it going at least somewhat. Oh, let's see. One example included a threat to refuse to post bail for an incarcerated defend the Atlanta Forest arrestee until he complied with Defend the Atlanta Forest's demands. Oh, yeah. Right, because they definitely would have gotten bond in Rice Street. Absolutely. These anarchist ideals and actions. We don't know who did any of this stuff. Who are we talking about? Is this real or hypothetical? Thanks, Steph. I've made so many videos. Steph said, wow, we're here to hold you accountable and push you through it. I've made so many videos that have not seen the light of day. Oh my goodness. Uh, One example included a threat to refuse to post bail. Again, who made the threat? And did they refuse to post bail? Did the person get bail? Is this person testifying? Yeah, I mean, there are some incredibly talented lawyers in Georgia, but and they're competent lawyers, competent prosecutors, but they're just exactly Steph. Exactly. Who? Um it's just the culture. There are competent DA's offices, just not this one. These anarchist ideals and actions undergird the occupation of the forested area that will be the site of the Atlanta Public Training Center. I don't think that's what you were calling it before, but let me check. Yeah, they're calling it this the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center. That's not a big deal though. That's just me being nitpicky. It's very. It probably is. I don't want to say that name. Uh, I don't want to get my probation revoked. Beginnings? We're at the beginning already? Why didn't we start with this section? The beginnings of the anarchists defend the Atlanta Forest movement formed. The beginnings formed in 2020 following the high-profile killing of George Floyd. In the weeks following Floyd's murder, Rayshard Brooks was shot and killed by Atlanta police in a Wendy's parking lot after Brooks violently concussed a police officer, stole the officer's taser, and pointed the taser at another police officer while he pointed the taser at another police officer while fleeing. While the Brooks shooting was justified, it caused anti-police violent. I don't know that it caused tension to boil over, and it further flamed political tensions surrounding policing. As a result, nationwide demonstrations and protests increased, including in the Atlanta area. Nearly all of the demonstrations centered around a message of anti-police violence that arose from a spate of high-profile nationwide police shootings. I don't think they were nationwide police shootings. I think they were just police shootings across the nation. Factual. I posted on X a while back about this one defendant from Georgia, one defendant from Georgia. The police took $94,000 in civil assets for trial in October. Wonder where she got the money. That's wild. While most demonstrations landed within constitutional protections, I'm glad that you get to decide that, random prosecutor. Not all demonstrations were peaceful. Okay, so sorry. While most demonstrations landed within constitutional protections, not all demonstrations were peaceful. Does that mean they don't land within constitutional protections? That's what they're trying to say, but they should try saying it. In the aftermath of Floyd's murder and shortly after Brooks' shooting death, a 24-hour autonomous zone was formed in the area surrounding the Wendy's where Brooks was killed. Again, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? The Wendy's was burned to the ground by protesters, and the zone began to be occupied individuals who were heavily armed with rifle shotguns and handguns. Within the area of the autonomous zone was a significant population of armed blood street gang members. The hybrid gang. I mean, Wendy's has red hair, so maybe Wendy is a blood. What did Doug say? Oh, I gotta check these lyrics. I knew it. Hold on, I'm gonna change my little thing here. I'm gonna do it correctly. This is gonna be great. You can't see me, but this is me. Where is it? Where are you? Is this Wendy? I don't know, but somebody should answer that question. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let's go ahead. So yeah, there are these armed blood street. Okay, so we're talking about the Bloods now. Are the Bloods involved in this RICO? Because it sounds like if let's say they're right and that there were Bloods taking over the Wendy's that was also not there anymore because it was burned to the ground. Um, wouldn't Are they in this indictment? Because I mean, if there are a bunch of armed Blood street gang members around the Wendy's, um, you should probably worry about that, not the nerds in the forest, because the Wendy's in downtown Atlanta being overrun by Bloods probably isn't related to the forest nerds. Okay, as part of this autonomous zone, busy public roads were blocked by these armed individuals and gang members. I'm sorry, this is very serious. Effectively creating a checkpoint Charlie. I don't know what that means. In downtown Atlanta. On July 4th, 2020, the zone reached its pinnacle of violence. A MARTA bus had guns drawn on it as it pulled up to the autonomous zone. This was probably Jimmy Winfrey, too. Several hours later, when a couple drove up to a barricade. What happened to the. This makes it sound like the bus was like a sentient being. Like, it's one of those cartoon buses, and somebody pulled a gun on the cartoon bus and the bus got scared. Like, what happened with the bus? I'm not trying to make light of this, but they're not encouraging me to take this seriously. Several hours later, when a couple drove up to a barricade, a shotgun was pointed at them, and they were forced to turn around. While they were turning around, a rifle was pointed at them by another zone occupant to ensure that they left the area. I want to make an Al Hogan joke about a car turning around, but I'm not going to do that. Minutes later, an innocent 8-year-old would be shot and killed by armed gang members of the autonomous zone. What is that? Are those the Bloods? Who did this? And what does this have to do with the forest? A car occupied by 8-year-old Sequoia Turner and her mother bypassed an autonomous zone checkpoint, and gang members fired on the car, killing Sequoia. That's a tragedy. I'm not going to make light of that. But the seriousness with which they're treating her death is non-existent. They're not treating it with any seriousness. I have no idea what this has to do with anything. It's like they're just bringing it up to inflame sentiments against the defendants, but I have no idea what this has to do with this case. In the 23 days that the autonomous zone existed in Atlanta, the occupants promoted violence centered around an anti-police sentiment. Okay, again, that has nothing to do with this case as far as I can tell. Oh, Aaron. Okay, that makes sense. Aaron says this is the entirely unrelated murder I mentioned earlier. Yeah, that makes sense. Meanwhile, anti-government anarchists in Atlanta recognized an opportunity to rally against the law enforcement. July 5th, 2020, the night after Turner's death, and during evening demonstrations, mass demonstrators attacked the Georgia Department of Public Safety headquarters. Headquarters houses the Georgia State Patrol. The mass demonstrators echoed a familiar theme: an extreme anti-police message. DPS headquarters was vandalized using thrown rocks. Okay, this is actually important. The attack did not stop with vandalizing, however, as it escalated into a known anarchist hurling a Molotov cocktail through a window. I know that there are multiple defendants. This is going to be their overt act, the overt act that ties them to the conspiracy. I know that the ties are incredibly weak in some cases, based on what I've heard. The ensuing fire resulted in 2 employees suffering injuries and the building catching fire. I'm not laughing at this. I'm just saying that I don't think the ensuing fire resulted in the building catching fire. See, the fire. Let's put this in red Fires are red. The ensuing fire was the building catching fire. It wasn't like a cause and effect sort of thing. The fire was the fire, and they should be fired for writing this. The demonstrations and protests eventually ended, but an undercurrent of threatening violent anti police sentiment persisted with some individuals in the Atlanta area, including those that make up Defend the Atlanta Forest, and it remains as one of Defend the Atlanta Forest's core driving motives. Motives for what? What are we doing here? What are we talking about? In April of 2021, trash the Trakisha, you know what? You have excellent judgment. I know what you're trying to say. The Atlanta Police Public Safety Censor, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. I thought it was Bottom. Is it Bottoms? I don't know that. It is Bottoms. I've been saying it wrong this whole time. Keisha Lance Bottoms announced a lease of 381 acres. Ooh, I can't see my chat. There we go. In DeKalb County, from the Atlanta Police Foundation for the purpose of building a public police training facility. I actually want to show you guys something. I want to see if I can find it real quick. If I can, I'll have to do it on a different stream. Ooh, my mouse just died. This happens a lot on this when I'm streaming. Sorry about that. I was wondering why I couldn't find my mouse on the screen, and it was because the whole thing was dead. Let me see here. I'm actually going to show you guys this. Okay. Okay. I want to make sure I didn't show any client stuff. So this is. Why is my camera still not working? Okay, so this is my. Let's see. Well, that doesn't look great, but these are all my case. These are all publicly available. I'll put the link in the description after, or it's on my Twitter too. But these are all publicly available that I made publicly available. And is it here? No. It is in what case? I think it's in here. Actually, no. I'll have to do this in a separate stream. But there have been several payments from the Fulton County DA's office to stop. To the Atlanta Police Foundation that have been paid out of funds that were supposed to be used for anti-gang violence initiatives, which I thought was kind of strange, but that is what they did with it. Okay. That's my extra desktop. I have a system factual lie. I actually probably shouldn't have shown it, but that's okay. Okay. The Atlanta Police Public Safety Training Center. Keisha Lance Bottoms announced the lease of 381 acres in DeKalb County from the Police Foundation for the purpose of building a police training facility. So in September, this is like over a year after the last stuff, wasn't it? Yeah, this was July of 2020. And they just jumped a year. I mean, really well over a year ahead. The City Council approved the lease by a 10-4 vote during an open meeting and after public discussion. The land will be used for the development of an 85-acre police fire training facility that would be built on the grounds. This should have been the first paragraph. This is the first time I've had any idea what's going on. This would be a perfectly reasonable first paragraph. I have a system, guys, okay? I have a system. YP said, this one guy did this, and then minutes later, this other guy did that. Well, I don't have the names of the individuals that pointed the guns or the individual that shot. Yeah, exactly. That would be. I mean, it seems like it's a completely separate case, but we haven't really had any identities discussed except for the mayor. On September 7th, 2021, the Atlanta City Council approved the lease. I said that already. Land will be used. The purpose of the training site is to better train police to deal with Atlanta's increase in violence while also training law enforcement de escalation techniques that avoid unnecessary violence. When completed, the site will be the largest and most advanced police training site in the United States. I was just checking, Aaron. I'm learning this in real time. That is special. Aaron says, yes, they are in fact alleging the conspiracy to defend the Atlanta forest began over a year before the forest needed defending. I mean, you can never be too prepared, right? Shadowbuck Studios, DeKalb County, and the land swap. I don't know why it's in quotes because they did swap land. In addition to the land leased to the city of Atlanta, DeKalb County and Shadowbuck Studios owned two other portions of the land at or near the forest. Shadowbuck Studios is a film studio that serves as a location where films are created. I shouldn't show my desktop. That Shadowbox owns a successful studio across Constitution Road. Where's Constitution Road? Just south of the forest that is occupied by Defend the Atlanta Forest, though has not remained untouched by Defend the Atlanta Forest. Indeed, multiple instances of vandalism and arson by Defend the Atlanta Forest members have occurred against Shadowbox Studios. The studio also owns undeveloped land inside and outside of the forest at issue. The location outside of the forest is adjacent to the studio to the south, with plans to develop land into an expansion of the studios. They defend the Atlanta. Though Defend the Atlanta Forest members have not occupied the forest south of Shadowbox, they have used outrage at the proposed development to recruit individuals to join. I don't want to say it again. Defend the Atlanta Forest movement. See, what I would have done is probably made a defined term here. I probably would have just made movement a defined term, so you don't have to say that every single time. Then you can just say like movement members. Oh my goodness. The Forest South. Yeah, so that's probably what I would have done there. Okay. The Shadowbox Studios used to own approximately 50 acres near. Is that how you spell that? It could be. I'm just never seen it spelled that way before. Yeah, that is right. Interesting. Entrustment Creek Park. That straddled Boulder Crest Road. I have no idea what that is, and was broken into 3 smaller parcels. Aaron says Constitution Road is 8 minutes away from Cleveland. Steph says more confused about where it is after their explanation of where it is. Totally. Let's see. At the same time, so DeKalb owns. A map would have been great here. I don't understand what they're doing here, but in February 21, by agreement of Shadowbox and DeKalb County, the parties conducted a land swap where the titles to the land were exchanged so that Shadowbox took possession of the 40. You know what? No, we're not doing this. We get it. The purpose was so Shadowbox could extend a studio, DeKalb County could have a better location to establish Michelle Obama Park for enjoyment of the public at large. I bet Michelle is not thrilled with being thrust into this situation. Given that both Shadowbox and DeKalb swapped the land in an effort to promote development, Defend the Atlanta Forest expressed further outrage. I don't even know when this is in time. Further from what? Anyway, as stated by the group via social media, we will not let our forest be destroyed for the convenience of politicians, Hollywood, and the police. Aaron says they're wrong about where it is. It's at Constitution and Key, not Constitution and Boulder Crest. I believe you. Let's see. We will not let our forest be destroyed for the convenience of politicians, Hollywood, and the police. No Cop City, no Hollywood dystopia, only forest. I wish this was that clear. While Defend the Atlanta Forest has since expressed outrage at this development, the group did not begin its occupation of the land or campaign of property disruption and violence until the announcement of the Atlanta Public Safety Training Center. When was that? Once the announcement of the training center was... You gotta be kidding me. Once the announcement was announced, Defend the Atlanta Forest used the outrage stemming from the George Floyd murder and murder of Rayshard Brooks to promote its anti-police, anti-government, and anti-development views. Wait, wasn't this in... What year was this? Okay, this is in February. Was that before the lease? Yeah. Wait. Okay, so it was... Yes, Jeff. So the... Okay, so February was the land swap. And then September was the lease? Yeah. Why did they do September 1st? So this is in February, and then the George Floyd stuff was in July of 2020. So that was, 7 months before? And then another 7 months after that is when the lease agreement was executed. So really we're up to it's well over a year after the... It doesn't matter. I don't know why I'm putting this much thought into it, because they certainly didn't. James says, serving a grand jury was eye-opening. I also got to open a lot of people's eyes in the process. Yeah, I bet. I'm glad you're amused, Kat. Jason says, I can't believe Carl even brought this as a RICO. Yeah. Oh, no, you're good, James. All right. I'm trying to figure out the timeline here. With this movement beginning to gain traction, Defend the Atlanta Forest quickly expanded its public sentiments to... What does that mean? How do they expand its public sentiments? Public statements or policy platform? To include objections to Shadowbox Studios and development of Obama Park. This way, the group could recruit more members by expanding its message from a simple anti-police message to an anti-government message. Recruiting anti-police, anti-government, and anti-development people from around the country resulted in Defend the Atlanta Forest Group that exists today to conduct acts of violence, intimidation, and property destruction. James, yeah, I like OBS, but I just messed it up today. I need to go check, see what I did. I have no idea. Trin, I appreciate that, Trin. Yeah, I don't... So recruiting anti-police, anti-government, anti-development people from around the country resulted in the group that exists today to conduct acts of violence. Defend the Atlanta Forest overview. This is your second section, if not your first section. Let's do this. How are you just explaining what defend the Atlanta forest is in paragraph G? G. Defend the Atlanta Forest is an unofficial Atlanta based organization that frames itself as a broad, decentralized. I know it's written. Broad, decentralized, autonomous movement that uses advocacy and direct action to stop the forest from being bulldozed in favor of police and sold out to Hollywood. Who are you quoting? Who said that? Defend the Atlanta Forest does not recruit from a single location. Oh, well, that's great. You saw that. No recruiting. Nor do all Defend the Atlanta Forest members have a history of working together as a group in a single location. Fantastic. Nevertheless, the group shares a unified opposition to the construction of the Atlanta Police Department training facility. I think this is the third different way they've said this. Construction companies associated with the project and companies associated with construction properties in the. Am I reading this right? This is stupid, right? I'm not stupid. Nevertheless, the group shares a unified opposition to the construction of the Atlanta Police Department training facility, construction companies associated with the project, and companies associated with construction properties in the around surrounding the forest. That doesn't. Okay. They're actually gaslighting me into believing that this makes sense. Steph says this comes off as just one person's opinion. It really does. This is just incorrect. As the group has grown and recruited, it has evolved into a broader anti-government, anti-police, and anti-corporate extremist organization. Because am I supposed to overlook the fact that opposing this is a legal activity? Yes. We're not concerned with the laws here. Defend the Atlanta Forest is made up of three primary ideologies. Is it going to be anti-government, anti-police, and anti-corporate extremism? Because you get three right here. The first is an anti-law enforcement ideology. If I'm right, that attempts to push a narrative that all police are violent, militant individuals that frequently use excessive force and violence against innocent citizens. The goal of this ideology is the elimination of police forces in their entirety. The second ideology is protection of the environment at all costs. This ideology promotes the belief that the environment has the same right as humans. You know what? I don't believe you. I'm going to need. Can you give me some reason to believe that this is true? This ideology promotes the belief that the environment has the same rights as humans and therefore violence is acceptable to defend the environment. The Defend the Atlanta Forest organization has acknowledged that they embrace this extremist ideology. This is demonstrated by the group's justification of shooting a Georgia state trooper. Chigita died trying to kill a cop in defense of the forest. But that's a person. That we're talking about multiple people here, not the. The third ideology is an anarchist ideology. As a result of all three ideologies joining forces, the group has been able to quickly recruit nationwide support of extremists, including out-of-state extremists that have traveled to Georgia. Really, not the out-of-state extremists that are from Georgia? Fantastic. Many of these extremists embrace violence and anarchy, and they use the forest as a guise for their violent agenda. That sounds pretty metal, actually. Steph, yeah. Like, you don't need citations for everything, and and an indictment, but some of this is like so specific that um, when you have like direct quotes like that and you're not even saying who said it, like you don't need to exhaustively cite everything, but yeah, it's crazy. DHS has classified the individuals. What individuals? What individuals? As alleged domestic violent extremists. What does this classification mean? In a bulletin posting, what does that mean? The DHS concluded that alleged DVEs in Georgia have cited have cited anarchist violent extremism, animal rights, environment. Where did this come from? Environmental violent extremism and anti-law enforcement sentiment to justify criminal activity in opposition to a planned public safety training facility in Atlanta. Criminal acts have included an alleged shooting and assaults targeting law enforcement and property damage targeting facility, construction companies, and financial institutions. It's the first time I've heard of this. Defend the Atlanta forest frequently uses symbols associated with anarchist movements to include, but not limited to, the anarchist symbol, a raised clenched fist, Antifa flags. That's a different organization. And symbols associated with anti-fascist movements. Graffiti, which includes those, as well as defend the Atlanta forest. Wait, what? Are these the? I don't know, Trikisha. Okay. As well as defend the Atlanta forest, defend the Atlanta forest a second time, stop Cop City, kill cops, cops are a bastard, ACAB, and 1312, the numerical equivalent of ACAB. Is that true? I thought A was on 2. Oh, the alphabet. I'm stupid. I was thinking like a phone number pad. I'm a dummy. These are prevalent in the areas surrounding Entrenchment Creek Park and the neighboring abandoned old Atlanta prison farm. What is that? Additional graffiti, which encourages violence against law enforcement, is visible throughout the Atlanta area. Okay, that's an L for you, but it doesn't really have anything to do with any of this. Why pieces? I wonder what kind of argument Max Shart is going to get out of this. Steam is going to be coming off of his bald head all night, in his own words. Historical anarchist and activist movements in the United States have included the creation of autonomous zones, which participants do not recognize the lawful authority of local government. Such examples include the 2020 movements in Portland, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington. The latter known as the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, or CHAZ, CHAZ, which received a high volume of national and international media attention. A second example is the previously mentioned Autonomous Zone in Atlanta during the George Floyd demonstrations. I think they were Rayshard Brooks demonstrations. A sign reading, "You are now leaving the USA," is frequently featured in social media posts and blogs about Defend the Atlanta Forest and exemplifies the underlying anti-government and anti-authority ideology of Defend the Atlanta Forest. How? How does it do that? A sign reading, "You are leaving the USA," is frequently featured in social media posts and blogs about Defend the Atlanta Forest, not by them, and exemplifies the underlying ideology. How? Yeah, I'm not surprised, Aaron. Defend the Atlanta Forest maintains a strong social media presence on Facebook, IG, Twitter, and various blogs, probably as well as like, I don't know, Foursquare, Tumblr, who knows. It has also worked with external entities to produce videos and podcast interviews. Many of these videos and recordings are available on open source platforms, just say YouTube, and contain discussions of militant actors and direct action, tactics, strategy, and structure for anti authority movements. Am I okay? We're on page 8. We're on page 18 of 92. That's a bad start. But didn't they say that they're anti? Weren't they like anti-structure or something up here? Oh, I was angry before. Da, 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 da. Yeah, they're anti-structure. Anyway, I can't breathe. In one video, a black-clad Defend the Atlanta Forest participant refers to historical insurgents or violent guerrilla movements such as the Zapatistas, that's a callback, and Syrian Revolution as a reference point for strategy and to anchor smaller movements to larger revolutions. I have no idea what we're doing here. Oh my goodness. Black clad Defend the Atlanta Forest participant. Is he a defendant? Is is he in this case? Who is this guy? States that the fate of the Kurdish revolutionaries in Kobani and I don't even know what that is. Kobani and Sarakaniv and all of these places, it was partially determined by the bloodbath in Damascus and Aleppo. Okay, I know Aleppo, but I know what Damascus is, of course. But how does that relate to the Wendy's in Atlanta or the or Shadowbox Studios? I think that with the current movement here, it's clear to me that the fate of the South River Weelaunee Forest will be determined in Midtown Atlanta, and it will be determined in Chicago and in New York. Leave me out of this, and in Seattle. I have no idea what the point of that was. The same black clad Defend the Atlanta Forest participant goes on to detail the role of sabotage and militant actors in Defend the Atlanta Forest movement by referencing US DoD theory on the role of you're right, Steph. On the role of defense and offense, specifically that the role of defense is to open the space for offense. Defenders, of course, especially in an urban context, not only in an urban context, but a wooded urban context, will always have an inherent advantage, especially if they perceive their role as defensive and they're able to engage really on their own terms. They're just trying to open space for offense. That makes sense in terms of military theory, but again, I don't know who this is, or what even they're talking about, because they haven't actually mentioned Cop City yet, or any of the subject matter at hand. And this just sounds like military tactics. I don't know why they keep calling him black clad. I have a joke that I could make about that I'm not going to. But that's weird. The black clad participant describes the APF as a consumer in purchasing construction services from a general contractor, Brasfield and Gorey. They are. That's just objectively true. I mean, you could call him a client, I guess, but that's correct. Brasfield is in charge of major APF project components such as engineering and works with subcontractors to achieve these objectives. That is how subcontractors work. You've got to be kidding me. The Defend the Atlanta Forest strategy, drawing from Sun Tzu, is to attack the strategy and allies of your enemy in order to separate the subcontractors from the contractor and the contractor from the APF, Are we quoting Sun Tzu? Because I don't think Sun Tzu was around in 2021. Know your enemies, you know yourself. In 1,000 battles, you'll never know danger. To separate the subcontractors from the contractor. The Defend the Atlanta Forest speaker specifically mentions Reeves Young. Is that a guy? I'm going to decide. I'm going to believe that it's a guy. A subcontractor and references attacks against construction equipment in Georgia and other states, which include arson and vandalism, protests and vandalism events at Reeves Young facilities, and actions at the home of the CEO, referring to an incident in which activists committed acts of vandalism and hung threatening banners at a private residence. I'm so confused. I don't know what we're doing here. Okay. Blackclad, Defend the Atlanta Force participant states that Reeves Young ultimately did the right thing. They moved their money elsewhere because that's how all of this is working. So, I mean, it just means like wearing black clothes, I guess, Steph, but I think they're trying to make them sound like, I don't know. I have my guesses. The Blackclad, Defend the Atlanta Forest participant justifies their destruction by stating that it's not an existential attack on the company because these companies have various subcontracts and make of money. Because these companies have various of contracts and make of money. Hexclad. The idea is if you deal with the APF, you'll deal with us. For this one contract, people are coming to your house. For this one contract, people are visiting your church. Okay, we get it. For this one contract, people are flooding your phone lines. People are sending you faxes. People are visiting your office. Everything in that is legal so far as I can see. Some people are vandalizing your stores. That's illegal. And burning your equipment. That is probably also illegal depending on the context for the one contract. The Defend the Atlanta Forest participant also describes various previous engagement with the city council and a canvassing campaign, and describes the escalation of Defend the Atlanta Forest activities as a natural consequence emerging as a result of frustration and the intransigence and immovability of the electoral system of the political system. That is actually a reasonable take. The participant, they make OF money. The participant further states that the movement intends to win. Most movements do. And that this is a struggle that extends beyond Atlanta to the entire country. That hurts your argument, but okay. Defend the Atlanta Forest and the struggle plays a larger role in the climate crisis in which a petroleum-based global capitalist structure is propped up with tear gas and violence. What is this paragraph? This is so frustrating. I have no idea what this is about. Prevent this domination. Defend the Atlanta Forest is going to have to get our hands dirty. We're going to have to do this ourselves. I don't know what this is. Bolani Forest equals the Atlanta Forest where Cop City was built. Okay, that makes sense. I kind of guessed that was the case, Aaron, but I mean, they got to say that stuff in here. But thanks for telling me that. Utilizing various social media platforms, Defend the Atlanta Forest regularly promotes week of action events and later claims responsibility for vandalism or arson committed during those specified timeframes on different websites. Websites Used to claim? Used to claim activity are often foreign hosted and defend the Atlanta Force participants often promote online security measures which disguise a user's true identity, such as the use of VPNs. Okay, I remember this part. It's one of my very favorite parts. Defend the Atlanta Force funding. The group is supported. I know, James. The group is supported by 3 individuals that live at 80 Mason Ave in Atlanta. Mason, maybe? Mason? I don't know. The 3 individuals use Mason Avenue as a primary residence, and all 3 work to support defend the Atlanta forest. The first individual is named Marlon, I think, Couts, probably? Couts is a lifelong community activist that controls and operates the Network for Strong Communities in Atlanta, which is a 501c3, and serves as partial financial backing for Defend the Atlanta Forest. Couts self-identifies as the CFO. I mean, I think the company probably identifies him as that. Also living there is Adele McClain, who assists Couts in running the Network for Strong Communities and is the CEO. I hate the way they say this. Identifies as the C. Like that's publicly. You have to publicly file these people's identities. Um, so it's not a self-identifies thing. Or identifies as like they are or they aren't. The third resident. I hate that. Of 80 Mason Avenue is Savannah Patterson, who is the secretary and treasurer of the entity. The Network for Strong Communities also operates the Solidarity Fund. This seems important, which identifies itself as providing support for people who are arrested at protest or otherwise prosecuted for their movement involvement. Yeah, it said 501c3, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it is, though. Let's see. These members facilitate finances to support the occupation of the forest area near Entrenchment Creek. What are members? Who are the members? Members of what? The Network for Strong Communities. That's this thing, right? Yeah. Portrays itself as providing community support in 5 different areas. The 5 areas are food access, mutual aid, bail fund, police accountability, and leadership development. The food access, the network. Why are we talking about food access? The Network for Strong Communities operates a group known as Food for Life. Food for Life purports to raise money to purchase and distribute food to areas and communities that are in need of food. For mutual aid, there is not a known separate established group. For police accountability, the network operates Cop Watch, which is a loosely affiliated group that brings attention to misconduct. Finally, for a bail fund, they use the Solidarity Fund. Notably, I bet it's not going to be notable. Oh, cool. Notably, according to the website for the Network for Strong Communities, the Atlanta Solidarity Fund is not primarily designed as a bail fund to pay for bonds of indigent inmates that cannot afford bond. Rather, the fund's purpose is to provide support for people who get arrested at protests or otherwise prosecuted for their movement involvement. Okay. I don't know why that's notable at all. A recent example includes posting a $392,000 bond for a defendant charged with domestic terrorism, while indigent defendants remain incarcerated as pretrial detainees. That's your fault. You're the ones who did that. Let them out then. You're the ones holding indigent people who can't afford their freedom for no other reason than because they can't afford it. If they had money, they'd be out. You're just admitting your own culpability in this much larger problem. This did not leave that bank account without funds, however. The Atlanta Solidarity Fund simply chooses to only bond out certain individuals with certain deleted structures. You're allowed to do that. There's nothing. I mean, yeah, you could be a broader organization, a broader focused organization, but you're certainly allowed to bond out people that are aligned with your political beliefs if you're a political movement. That's not at all out of the ordinary. Oh my goodness. Got it, Aaron. Marlon, Adele, and Savannah Patterson created the Forest Justice Defense Fund as an arm of the Network for Strong Communities in July of 2021. That was before the lease, wasn't it? Was the lease in September? It was the lease February. The land swap is February and the lease was September, right? Wait a minute. I thought that was 2020. I'm almost positive that was 2020 they were talking about. Was it 22? Yeah, it was 2020. Yeah, it was July of 2020. What were they talking about? So that's just straight up not true. That's a lie. This is the same month as the protests. Yeah, that's just outright false. That's a misstatement of fact. In piggybacking off the momentum of the protests, the Network for Strong Communities began commingling funds from its various causes and raising money to support the occupation of the forest where the Safe Training Center would be built. As a result, good faith donors donated their own money to a certain charitable cause, and the money was spent on the occupation of the forest. Do you know that, though? Do you know why various donors donated? That seems like such a stretch. The Network for Strong Communities has operated bank accounts that support the occupation to defend the forest. The various accounts are controlled by Constable Clint Patterson, and money has been moved. Just wait. Okay, factual lie. I'll see. I'll see you soon. Have a good night. Um, let's see. 2021, they've operated bank accounts that support the occupation. I don't think that's true. The various accounts are controlled. Money's been moved via bank. Right. I was going to say, when they say money, we're talking sometimes like $10 at a time. Yeah, James, about the statute of limitations, I think. Um, at times, the various bank accounts have had millions of dollars, though the number has dropped at times due to prolific spending. That is, when you spend money, the balance goes down. They're correct. That's true. Seed money was received from a larger political organization, but the significant majority come from public donations and political donations. Those are probably also public donations. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's keep going. The network accomplishes fundraising by painting itself as a legitimate law-abiding social justice organization, and as a result, members of the public donated to the organization with the legitimate belief that their monies go to lawful purposes. James says, I've contributed to this bail fund. Come find me funny. That's the other James. That's not this James. Don't arrest me. Oh, James, this is also Chris Carr. This is the state attorney general. So this actually is worse than Fanny. Aaron, I know. I couldn't remember all of them. I know there's one that's like forest supplies or something. In 2021, the account received over 70,000 donations. Some are very small, and others are many thousands of dollars. Yeah. 2.2 million. Yeah, that's fine. Good for them. Um, Also, now that I think about it, the absurdity of attacking somebody for operating a bail fund in Atlanta of all places, that is that's the place that needs a bail fund. They need millions of dollars in bond funding based on how the extent to which they abuse bond funding there. So YP asked about the scary glue. Let me see what page. How many pages do we have to go on this part? Oh my god, I'm not even halfway there. Oh boy. Oh no, I am. Okay, we're good. Not only does the account promote the occupation of the forest, some of them celebrate and promote violence and property damage. I don't even want to finish this. This is so stupid. Indeed, the funds are used to support the operations of the self-titled forest defenders that are inside and outside of the forest. One of the ways that defend the Atlanta Forest members are financially supported in the forest is via reimbursement for costs submitted by forest defenders. Makes sense. The reimbursement operates in the same way that a traditional business conducts reimbursement. That sounds like a good thing. This is them explaining what reimbursement is. One example of an expense includes cops submitting a receipt for handheld radios so that forest defenders can communicate without using cell phones. The audacity. Cow submitted the receipt, approved his own submission, and he received a reimbursement for that expense. That's not great accounting practices, but it's not a crime. Other examples include food supplies, camping equipment, rope, and climbing equipment. Ammunition, gear, all of this stuff is gear, surveillance equipment, tools, building supplies, a drone, probably to fight the police drone. And other items used to continually occupy the forest. I can't read all this stuff. They're just describing the reimbursement system further. Okay, I guess I'll read this. The Open Collective is a platform for fiscal host. That's the reimbursement platform they use. The website for the Open Collective describes a fiscal host as an organization that welcomes others to operate through their structure so projects can use the host. The host provides administrative services, oversight, and support. In this instance, the Network for Strong Communities acted as the fiscal host for the Forest Justice Defense Fund. For that fund, the same three people were registered as administrators. That is, they had the power to approve or reject payments and reimbursements. In attempting to disguise their identities, House registered as Mouse, McLean registered as Earthworm, and Patterson registered as Spud. Patterson would later change her username to Danny. That's just a username. You don't literally have to use your name. That's not money laundering. Yeah, I do want to get to the overt acts because they're insane. That's why I'm trying to skip through some of this. I'm starting to lose my voice. How long have I been going? Uh, 2 hours. Oh my goodness. I thought it was like maybe an hour and 15 minutes. Yeah, that's actually good advice from Trenton. Anytime you really want to know a charity, search their name plus 990. Read the first page and you'll find out what they do. Yeah, that's really good advice. I mean, he knows that. I'm not trying to like speak for him, but yeah, you can find some interesting stuff. I think a lot of times they'll have. Yeah, he can correct me, but I believe a lot of times they'll have the 5 highest paid officers or something like that in the 990 if it's above a certain level of income. I think, or maybe just always. I can't remember. If you look at a lot of think that's right. I could be wrong. Let me see. Oh, really, Aaron? Yeah, that makes sense. Aaron said, I'm pretty sure Savannah's middle name is Danielle, not exactly hiding her identity. Yeah, I mean, it's. I have to imagine if they subpoenaed the website, they could get the identities anyway, given that it's essentially a financial institution. In May of 23, they learned the state was aware of the payments being made in support of the forest occupation. One day after the state publicly disclosed the investigation, an attempt was made to disconnect the defense fund from the network for strong communities. That's smart. House McLean Patterson accomplished this by changing the fiscal host of the fund. The fiscal host was transferred from the network to a new fiscal host known as Siskiyou Mutual Aid. Smart. Control of the funds available was changed to mutual aid. The entirety of the amount and control of all these funds was moved away from the network. Okay. Funds dispersed approximately $89,000. Okay. Yeah, it's quite a wildcat. I didn't realize. Communication from the Defend the Atlanta Forest Management is conducted in many ways. Oh god, this is going to be stupid. I can feel it already. Indeed, communication among the Defend the Atlanta Forest members is often cloaked in secrecy, using sophisticated technology aimed at preventing law enforcement from viewing their communication and preventing recovery of the information. Members often use the dark web via Tor, that is the Onion router, use end-to-end encrypted messaging app Signal or Telegram, must be talking to Arca, or use handheld radios such as walkie-talkies. I remember I posted about this. Or use handheld radios such as walkie-talkies while in the forest. Now, I don't know about you guys. Ooh, I don't like that. But on the list of sophisticated technology, I don't really think of walkie-talkies. Additionally, Defend the Atlanta Forest uses websites to broadly instruct its members on where to go and what to do. Communication paints itself as a call to action. James. Um, so that appearance is benign. Nevertheless, Defend the Forest's members are aware of the purpose of these calls to action, and they include violence and damage. Final way that the Defend the Atlanta Forest members communicate is in person. They talk, they speak to each other. Sons of bitches. They speak to each other. A loose network of homes and buildings around the East Atlanta area serves as places where Defend the Atlanta Forest members can received, still not done. Can receive, oh, rough, woof, woof, woof. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, Jay, occupation inside the forest. That's a happy doggo. The forested area occupied by the forest defenders in the middle of the disputed property. Man. Let me see. Where was I? I don't even want to read this. Yeah, I guess so. Forest area occupied by the forest defenders is in the middle of the disputed property. Numerous tents and living supplies were found throughout the area when law enforcement has attempted to remove the individuals from the privately held property. While there is not one singular location where forest defenders live, an area existed for a period of time that the forest defenders called the living room. As its name implies, it's an area where forest defenders gathered as if living inside of a house. Numerous tents were located in the surrounding area. There's a so-called living room. They had a rudimentary bathroom where a toilet seat was attached to 4 vertical plastic poles to emulate a very basic toilet. It sat above a crude hole in the ground, not a sophisticated hole in the ground, so that a toilet user's waste would fall into the hole. Evocative. In themes consistent with anarchy and anti-police sentiment, a painted sign titled the bathroom and toilet as 9/11 Memorial. I don't understand that. Forest defenders did not occupy the forest without protection. In approaching the occupied areas, law enforcement encountered dangerous, sharp traps designed to injure approaching individuals. I'd like more information on that. Additionally, various ingredients for making Molotov cocktails were located, in addition to a rudimentary pipe bomb that had not been completed. So, not a pipe bomb. In one incident, a civilian metal scrapper was trapped. A civilian metal scrapper was trapped and held at gunpoint by forest defenders and forced to leave a forest area simply because entered the premises to collect scrap metal. I don't know what that means. Someone was scouts. The scouts watched for law enforcement. Any threat to their occupation, intelligence is spread in end-to-end encrypted texts so that forest defenders can actively avoid or fight the pending threat. Oh my goodness. Defend the Forest Use website. We already said this. I think we're going to skip ahead to the overt acts. Oh, here's Tuchigita, Little Turtle, as Aaron said. One of the good call. One of the most common false narratives promoted by Defend the Atlanta Forest is that of police aggression. The purpose of this disinformation campaign is to turn public opinion against law enforcement, thus justifying their violence and destruction of property. On about January 18th, 23, a Defend the Atlanta Forest member shot a Georgia State trooper who was assisting in clearing the forest. Troopers returned fire, killing the suspect. Defend the Atlanta Forest immediately began a propaganda campaign against police by claiming that troopers shot the Defend the Atlanta Forest member first. Despite its efforts to sway public opinion with false information, evidence demonstrated that the member shot the trooper first, and a scenes vlog even admitted that this member shot first. He died trying to kill a cop in defense of the forest. We attack the same machines that threaten the forest in Atlanta and everything wild. Fire to the earth destroyers. Until every cop is dead and all they defend burnt to ashes. Who posted this? And what is the spacing? Well put, James. Yeah, I believe Aaron says there's no fire that necessitated the return. I'm not surprised. I feel like this has already been said above. Yeah, this is not. Okay, here we go. I think you guys got the drift of what we were doing there. Okay, July 5th, 2020. Throwing objects in a Molotov cocktail. Objects is doing a lot of work. I'd like to know what that is. Molotov cocktail. Serious enough. Okay, that's a good overt act. Number one, I'm gonna give a passing grade. Congratulations. I need a darker green now. There we go. You get a passing grade on that one. On or about October 28th, Savannah Patterson transferred $100 to an unindicted co-conspirator for ammunition. Okay, that's not great, but we'll give it a passing grade. On or about, let me see, 4 days later, Savannah transferred $80 to Marlin for radio communication devices. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. No. On or about November 6, 2020, Savannah transferred to Marlin $40 for radio communication devices and gas. Probably propane. No. Wait, they just go from November to May? That's a pretty big jump. July, October, November, May of the following year. And all of these were before 2021, which is when the land swap and the lease went into effect. So this would have been before. Nope, I'm taking it back. These aren't passing anymore. No. So all of this was before the lease was even entered into, before there was even a Cop City to be built. This mostly was too. Marlin, Adele, and Savannah, along with unindicted co-conspirators that are unknown, did publish a post on their website linking to a post on anarchistnews.org that threatens property damage if construction on Blackhall Studios, I thought it was Shadowbox, Michelle Obama Park, and the safety training facility is not halted. Probably YP. Thereby knowingly using threats against construction officials with the intent to cause and induce the construction officials to withhold records, documents, and testimony. But this is just a post to a link on an entirely different website. No. Okay, this is at least their own website, claiming responsibility for property damage to a construction equipment at the proposed site of the training facility. I'll check that out, Aaron. I don't really know much about that story or anything about that story. I'll be extremely generous and give this a passing grade. Even despite the typo there. Marlin, Adele, and Savannah did publish a post calling for a week of action. No. I don't know what that means. No. Like, what is it? On June 3rd, they, with unindicted, unknown co-conspirators, published a post calling for a week of action. I have no idea what that means. Same thing, published a post claiming responsibility for property damage to 3 excavators. Okay, that's fine, I guess. That's a passing grade. Did publish a post linking to another article on It's Going Down by Kesha that advocates for more property damage. Unindicted co-conspirators. No. Let's see. Along with unindicted. Let's post. Okay, I can't go through all of these, but here we go. On about August 4th, Savannah Patterson transferred $80 to an unindicted co-conspirator whose identity is known. $80. Issue tree spike warnings. Okay, that's fine. Published a scene claiming responsibility in Roseville, Minnesota. What? 3 did publish a post claiming responsibility for an attack on a CSC regional office in Roseville, Minnesota. Where did Roseville, Minnesota come from? Yeah, it says who's actually posting it, the indicted or unindicted. because it has to be one or the other. Yeah, if it were like a long form article, and it had a 20-page article and it was allegedly written by different people, that'd be fine. Like I could see that, but just posting a link to another website, that's not something that's done by 10 different people. Mm. Marlin transferred $100 to an unindicted co-conspirator for defend the forest delegation expenses. No idea what that means. Publish a post promoting property destruction at the site of the future training facility. Oh, okay. Some of the indictees are from Minnesota. There's another one. Along with unindicted co-conspirators that are unknown to the grand jury, published a post calling for a week of action. Again, I don't know what that means. Also, that's not a week. That's 5 days. This is the Reeves Young we discussed earlier. Reeves Young again. Black. Okay, here we go. Marlon Adele Savannah transferred $61 in reimbursement to Brooke for forest kitchen materials. $27.62 for forest tools. $52.22 for food. Oh, it's good. So this is Brooke receiving $52.22, and this is the transfer of $52.22. I don't think that this is even an act. Just receiving money, like if somebody Venmos you money, you're not actually acting. So I don't know that it's an overt act at all. $256. Same pair here. Those ropes and tarps. Those ropes and tarps. Again, this is just one event. Let's see here. 2762. Wait, didn't I just see that one? Oh, that's this one, right? Oh, it's the sending and the receiving. Okay, I get it. That's the same pair too, though. Let's see. Unindicted co-conspirators did publish a post claiming responsibility for property damage the day before. Okay, that's fine. Is this the same day? Yeah, reasonable. There's a lot of like posting on the website here. It's the same day again. To confront contractors. Is this the same post or like a different post? I don't know. Unindicted unknown. Unindicted unknown. Unindicted unknown. This is so weak. Wait, this one. Unindicted conspirators unknown to the grand jury did publish a post on scenes on their blog publishing police scanner activity. Isn't that literally just speech? It's repeating public statements by law enforcement. Let's see. Transfer $200 to an unindicted co-conspirator for a cell phone lost in an arrest at the DeKalb Forest. Masterminds. $12.52 for forest kitchen materials. Oh yeah, this is my my thumbnail for this video. $12.52. On or about March 10th, 2022, Brick Courtmarch received $12.52 in reimbursement from the Network for Strong Communities for forced kitchen materials. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. It says, my social alert goes off on those. I think it's not the people listed posting the link. Wild guess is that it's in the same thread. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I could see that. So $68, $93 for camping supplies. Let's see, $99 for camping supplies. $68 for kitchen materials. $68 for kitchen materials. $140. $61. $61. $48. $107. $39. Adele received $39 in reimbursement for food for a church gate lock. For food for a church gate lock that exists on the DeKalb Forest land that was used as supply storage. I don't know what that means. $38. $91, $105. Oh, this one doesn't even say what it's for. $105 in reimbursement to an unindicted co-conspirator for materials and supplies. That's very specific. For $71 for tarps. Tarp and gloves. Tarp. Materials and supplies. For communications infrastructure. That's definitely walkie-talkies. Event supplies. Warming supplies. Okay, here this is a real thing. Katie, Tyler, and Hannah vandalized a Brassfield and Gory office building in Cobb County. I am 100% certain that not all of these people are guilty. I can tell you how I know that, but I am 100% certain that the attempt to occupy the forest, thereby attempting to prevent police presence. I don't know how that. This is the same week that Young Thug's house got raided. This was just 3 days after Young Thug's house got raided and the date of the YSL indictment. So a certain detective was probably really enjoying her. It's Richard Mill, RM 01, Bubba Watson watch with white ceramic bands. I'm not going to say who that was. Let's see. Attempted fraud. $14 for a lock on a trailer. $87 for rain tarps. $108 for a shovel. Tarps. $15. William Warren, while employed with Flock, did provide locations of future Flock camera installations. I don't know what Flock is. $178 for climb training. $77 for a tent. That's a good deal. Okay. I think you guys get the point I'm trying to make on this. $19 for harm reduction supplies. So let's go down to the $38. The money laundering counts. Here we go. Let's say possess a document. Marlon, Adele, and Savannah possessed a document named Security Handbook that described methods of committing violent crimes. recruiting co-conspirators, how to get away with crimes, and other methods of promoting anarchy. This is an overt act in furtherance of a conspiracy. That's not. You can't do that. That's just possessing a document. It's true. I almost admire how frugal they are with the money. This is very responsible spending when you have 2 million bankroll. Yeah, seriously, that's a good point. Yeah, that's. I mean, they're documenting $11 expenses. Count 2, domestic terrorism. I actually don't know anything about this, so I'm not going to opine. This is the same event. All of these counts were dropped. I think it's counts 4 through 18. So you see, it's a $61 money laundering charge, which is insane. $27, $52, $256. I think this one was actually dismissed first because it's a duplicate. Yeah, I think this one was dismissed first, and then all the others were dismissed. But yeah, all of these were $12. Let me see, 68, 93, 99, 68. Is that another 68? Didn't I just say that? No, 68, 81 versus 54. $140, 61, 48, 107, and 38. So all of those were dismissed. 4 through 18 were all dismissed. So from the first page to the last, it was a disaster. You may remember that we started this stream talking about how they forgot Aaron says some of the domestic terrorism stuff is like vandalism at construction sites, lighting cop cars on fire. Yeah, I mean that's a legitimate thing to charge, but I don't, against the people that did it. I just don't think you can get to RICO based on that. But that makes perfect sense. But things we started with forgetting the grand jurors on the grand jury indictment, which again is pretty important. And then we end with 14 charges that were just dismissed outright. What was that dangerous glue? That's the last thing I want to look up. I think you said it was count 99. You're right, it's 99. On or about August 9th. Was that the date? I think that's the date of the. No, that's 4 days after the re-indictment in YSL. On or about August 9th, 2022, Emily Murphy received $11.91 in reimbursement from the network for strong communities for glue. See, the glue is what holds the strong communities together, though. That actually makes perfect sense. It's got to be super glue if it's $11. $11.91. I think that's the perfect note to end on. Oh my goodness. What a mess. It's just bad. What is this spacing? It's solidarity glue. Everybody joins together. Like, what is this? What is this? That's the most offensive part of this whole thing. This. What are we doing here? Like, what is this? Be a really big bottle of Elmer's to hold the glitter on her sides. Oh, excuse me, it was 1191, not 1181. Yeah, the threshold is actually 1185, Aaron. YP. If they had charges dismissed, don't they have to make a new indictment? I don't think so. I think they can just. I mean, they might have to for a jury. They wouldn't want the dismiss charge on that indictment, but I think they just like take them off. But I'm honestly not positive. But yeah, I think that's probably going to be it for me. My voice is getting tired. Sorry for all the tech difficulties at the beginning. I'll try to get that fixed for next time. But yeah, thanks for joining. If anyone has any questions, I can answer those real quick. But yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. I think I'm gonna call it a night. Quite strange, but also a bit puzzle. Yeah, Aaron, that makes sense. Yeah, of course. Thanks. I like doing this. I've been meaning to do this one for a while. Okay. Well, have a good night, everybody.